All right, let's dive into this World of Warcraft arena comp that's been
Yeah.
really turning heads.
Mm-hmm.
Beast Mastery Hunter, Protection Warrior,
It's interesting.
and Holy Paladin.
Yeah, you don't see that every day.
Yeah, a tank and high-rated PvP.
Some might call it the ultimate underdog story.
It really is. It's like,
Yeah.
how's that even working?
Well, what I find fascinating is that this comp, it kind of flips the script
Okay.
on
Yeah.
how we usually think about arena dominance.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on that explosive burst damage,
Right.
they lean into resilience,
Oh,
wearing their opponents down through layers of defense and strategic counterplay.
it's a classic David and Goliath situation.
It really is.
The underdog.
Oh.
I'm already hooked.
Yeah.
We've got a mountain of guides and forum discussions
Oh, it's-
to go through here. Icy Veins, WoW, Potopia,
Of course.
the official Blizzard forums,
Natural.
Reddit,
Yeah.
Skill Capped, even Method.gg.
We went deep.
We're going deep.
Yeah.
So let's break down WHY this comp works.
Okay.
What makes each role tick, and how they create this sort of symphony of controlled chaos.
The core concept with this comp is attrition,
Right.
outlasting the opponent, right? Through a combination of durability and sustained pressure.
Mm,
So it's about leveraging each spec's strengths
right.
to create this web of defenses that's incredibly hard to break through.
Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room, or it's the bear in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Protection Warrior.
Yeah.
Most people see a tank in the arena and think, like, free kill.
Right. It's like, oh, easy target.
How does this comp turn that perception on its head?
That's where the brilliance of this comp comes in. Like,
Okay.
Protection Warrior isn't just a damage sponge.
Right.
They're a master disruptor,
Okay.
a bodyguard, and a crucial line of defense, all rolled into one.
That's a lot.
Think of it this way. They've got three main tools: damage reduction,
Okay.
disruption,
Okay.
and ally protection.
Okay, I'm listening. Unpack those for me.
All right, so when it comes to damage reduction,
Right.
they've got those iconic abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Shield Wall,
Right.
which is, a whopping 40% damage reduction.
Yeah.
And Ignore Pain, which allows them to absorb a significant amount of incoming damage.
So they can take a punch.
They can take a punch.
But what about disrupting the enemy?
That's where their crowd control and enemy crippling abilities come into play.
Right.
So you've got Shockwave, which stuns multiple enemies,
Uh-huh.
creating opportunities for counterattacks or peeling for allies.
Healing. Okay.
And then Disarm, which can completely shut down an enemy melee DPS,
Wow.
turning a fearsome opponent into, well, a sitting duck.
Like useless.
Pretty much.
Okay, so they can take the hits and disrupt the enemy.
Uh-huh.
But what about that bodyguard aspect you mentioned?
Ah, that's where Intervene shines.
Oh, yeah.
They can instantly dash to an ally, absorbing all incoming attacks for a short period.
So it's like having a...
It's like having a personal shield.
Oh, wow.
On call, ready to deflect the deadliest blows.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So they're not just surviving, they're actively protecting their teammates.
they are.
Now, let's move on to the Beast Mastery Hunter.
Okay,
They're known for their sustained damage.
right.
But is there more to their role in this comp
Absolutely.
than just pew-pew from afar?
While that consistent damage is a key part of their contribution,
Right.
the Beast Mastery Hunter brings a lot more to the table,
Okay.
thanks to their furry companion,
Right, the pet.
the pet.
It's like having a second DPS that can't be CC'd,
Yeah.
constantly harassing the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And they apply mortal wounds, which reduces enemy healing.
That's right.
That's got to be huge in a drawn-out fight where this comp wants to just outlast the opponent.
It's crucial, especially against comps that rely on a lot of self-sustain.
Makes sense.
But there's more. The pet can also stun with intimidation, disrupting enemy plans both offensively and defensively. And then there's Roar of Sacrifice, which allows the pet to take a percentage of the damage directed at a teammate.
So it's like a mini-tank
It is.
in its own right.
In its own right.
I remember reading on the Blizzard forums about a situation where the hunter's pet tanked like 20% of a burst that was aimed at the Paladin.
Oh, wow.
That bought the Paladin enough time to get healed or pop a defensive cooldown.
That's a clutch save.
Talk about a clutch save.
Absolutely.
So the pet's a constant thorn in the enemy's side,
It is.
providing that consistent damage, crucial crowd control,
Mm.
even acting as a secondary tank when needed.
Yeah.
Now, this brings us to the Holy Paladin, the glue that holds this unconventional team together. They must have their work cut out for them keeping this team alive,
They do.
especially with the tank on the front lines.
It's a tough job, but someone's got to do it.
So while their potent single-target healing is fundamental,
Yeah.
Their true power lies in those defensive cooldowns. They're like a walking arsenal of, oh crap, buttons. Each designed to counter specific threats. Okay, let's dive into those oh crap buttons.
Yeah.
Blessing of Sacrifice. That's the ultimate act of selflessness.
Right. Taking the hit for their teammate.
And with the Ultimate Sacrifice talent, they can transfer 100% of the damage, making the teammate temporarily invincible.
That's right.
So when that mage pops combustion and is about to unleash fiery chaos, the Paladin steps in and says, nope, not today.
That's exactly it.
It's a game changer for mitigating burst damage.
It is, especially against those predictable high damage cooldowns.
Okay, and then there's Blessing of Protection, which grants immunity to all physical damage.
Yeah, a hard counter to any melee burst attempts.
Imagine a rogue trying to unload their entire arsenal on the hunter, and bam, Blessing of Protection.
And the rogue's left wondering, what just happened?
Yeah, what do I do now?
Exactly.
But what if the entire enemy team is collapsing on you? And all hope seems lost?
It happens.
That's when Divine Shield comes into play.
Yeah.
The infamous bubble. Complete immunity to everything for a brief, glorious moment.
It's a last resort.
Yeah.
A lifeline when things get truly dire.
Yeah.
It can buy enough time for the Paladin to get healed.
Right.
For the warrior to taunt the attackers away. Or for the hunter to reposition and just create some breathing room.
And let's not forget about Aura Mastery with Devotion Aura.
Oh, that's a good one.
Giving the entire team a 15% damage reduction.
It's like a mini raid cooldown.
Yeah.
Perfect for those moments when the enemy team decides to, you know, throw everything they've got at you.
So it's all about mitigating damage, controlling the pace of the fight, and creating opportunities to turn defense into offense.
Exactly.
And that's where the true synergy of this comp shines.
It is.
Okay. So we've got the warrior as the disruptor and bodyguard. A hunter providing sustained damage and utility with their pet. And the paladin acting as the defensive anchor with a bag full of tricks.
It's a good way to put it.
But how does all of this translate into actual gameplay?
Right.
How do these roles actually work together in the arena?
That's the real question.
I'm ready to get into the nitty-gritty.
Let's dive into that in part 2.
All right.
We'll explore how this comp leverages those cooldowns, how they position themselves in the arena, and how they adapt their strategy against different enemy compositions. Get ready for some serious aha moments.
I love aha moments.
Me too.
All right, we're back and ready to unpack the real magic of this Beast Mastery Hunter, Protection Warrior, Holy Paladin comp.
It really is fascinating.
It's how they actually play the game right.
Yeah, seeing it in action.
We've covered their individual roles, those incredible cooldowns. But seeing them work together in the arena.
That's where things get exciting.
That's where the magic happens.
It's like watching a well-choreographed dance where each player knows their steps perfectly, anticipating the other's moves, responding to the music of the fight.
Okay, I'm picturing this dance.
Right.
Where does everyone stand in the arena?
That's a good question.
You can't be the typical DPS flanking healer hiding in the back kind of setup.
Yeah, it's definitely not your typical arena positioning.
Okay.
So the Holy Paladin, they're the linchpin, right? They're using pillars and line of sight to their advantage.
Okay.
They're playing defensively, staying within healing range,
Breaks.
but always aware of their surroundings, trying to avoid becoming an easy target.
Got to keep the lifeline safe.
Exactly.
But what about the protection warrior?
The warrior.
I imagine they're front and center.
They are.
Leading the charge, creating chaos.
The warrior is the disruptor.
Okay.
The one who dictates the pace of the fight.
Okay.
They're constantly applying pressure.
Right.
Peeling for teammates. Controlling that flow of battle.
So while the warrior's holding the line, what about the hunter?
So the hunter, with their range damage,
they
have a bit more flexibility in positioning.
Yeah.
They can dance around the edges of the fight, peppering the enemy with shots, while their pet harasses them up close.
Yeah.
And they're constantly looking for opportunities, to land a crucial freezing trap or use Roar of Sacrifice to save a teammate. Even tranquilizing shot to remove a key enemy buff.
So it's like a balancing act.
Yeah, balancing act.
Between damage and utility.
Right.
Reacting to what the enemy's doing. Finding those key moments to turn the tide.
But I'm curious about those micro-rotations you mentioned earlier. It's not like they're following a set DPS rotation like in a raid.
No, it's much more dynamic than that.
Oh, so.
For the hunter, it's all about maintaining barbed shot for that consistent damage. Using kill command for focus regeneration.
And weaving in Cobra shot as needed.
Okay.
But it's also about being aware of those opportunities I mentioned.
Right.
Knowing when to use a cooldown.
Yeah.
When to trap. When to provide support.
So while they're pumping out damage, they're also thinking strategically.
They are.
Looking for ways to disrupt the enemy.
Yeah.
Support their team.
Exactly.
What about the protection warrior?
So
what does their rotation look like?
It's all about maximizing shield slam uptime.
Okay.
Not only does it hit hard,
Right.
it also gives them the chance to use shield bash, which silences the enemy, prevents them from casting spells.
Okay.
They're weaving in revenge, thunderclap,
right.
Constantly managing ignore pain to mitigate incoming damage.
It sounds like a lot to juggle.
It is.
And the Holy Paladin.
Yeah, the Paladin.
I bet their rotation is just as dynamic.
Oh, it is.
Especially with all those cooldowns they have to manage.
So many cooldowns.
All right, so Holy Shock is their bread and butter, I imagine?
Yeah, used on cooldown for both healing and damage.
Okay.
They spend Holy Power on Word of Glory for those efficient instant heals.
Right.
And use Flash of Light or Holy Light strategically, especially when they have Divine Favor active to make those heals even stronger.
So much nuance in just keeping their team alive.
It's an art form.
And we haven't even touched on how they use their cooldowns effectively.
Right. The cooldowns are where it gets really interesting.
Let's break down each role's cooldowns.
Okay.
And how they weave them into this intricate dance of survival and counterplay.
I like that.
Starting with the Beastmaster hunter.
All right.
They've got Bestial Wrath.
Of course.
That classic go ham button.
It's their primary damage amplifier.
Yeah.
Significantly boosting their damage output for a short time.
Right.
And making their pet immune to crowd control.
So it's like go time.
Yeah, it's their go-to for pushing damage during those precious moments when the enemy is locked down or vulnerable.
I remember reading in those patch notes. That Bestial Wrath now also breaks the hunter out of incapacitates.
That's right.
It makes them immune to fear effects. Talk about a game changer.
It is. It really changes how they can play.
A mage tries to polymorph you mid-fight.
Yeah.
You pop Bestial Wrath, and suddenly...
It's not only are you free...
Yeah.
But you're also ready to unleash some serious pain.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant counter to crowd control. And a powerful offensive tool all in one.
Okay, but Bestial Wrath isn't the only trick up their sleeve.
It's not. They've also got Aspect of the Wild.
Oh, yeah?
Which boosts their critical strike chance.
So when they combine Aspect of the Wild with Bestial Wrath...
Oh, yeah!
They become a crit machine.
It's scary.
Imagine this. The Paladin lands a Hammer of Justice on the enemy healer.
Okay.
The hunter traps them with Freezing Trap.
Uh-huh.
And then, bam! Bestial Wrath and Aspect of the Wild.
Oh, it's over.
And suddenly the enemy team is down a healer.
It's a recipe for disaster for the enemy team.
But even the best offense needs a good defense.
It does.
And the hunter has some powerful survival tools as well.
That's right.
Like Aspect of the Turtle.
Yeah, that full-on damage immunity.
It seems pretty handy when you're facing a team that can burst you down in seconds.
It's their oh crap button.
Okay.
Their last resort when they absolutely need to avoid those big hits.
So it's like a brief vacation in the middle of a war zone.
Exactly.
You can't attack while it's active.
Right.
But it can buy you those precious seconds to survive.
Exactly.
And they've got exhilaration for healing, both themselves and their pet.
Yep. Keeping that pet alive is crucial.
Right. The pet is like an extension of the hunter.
It is.
Keeping it healthy is top priority.
Absolutely.
They also have that survival of the fittest talent, which provides a solid damage reduction.
Yeah.
And of course, the pet's roar of sacrifice.
Right.
Which we've already seen can be a lifesaver.
It's a good one.
All right, so we've covered the hunter's offensive and defensive cooldowns. Now let's talk about the master of mitigation.
The master?
The protection warrior.
They've got so many.
They've got cooldowns for days, right?
They do, and each one is designed to counter specific threats and control the flow of battle.
Right.
Their signature cooldown is Avatar.
Right.
It's a significant damage boost.
Oh, okay.
That also breaks them out of snares.
So they can stick to their target.
Yeah, allowing them to keep the pressure on.
So they're not just tanking, they're contributing to the offense as well.
Absolutely.
That's a far cry from the stereotypical stand there and take it tank.
Oh yeah, this is a whole different breed of tank.
Okay, and if they're using the Colossus Smash specialization,
right,
they also have shield charge, a charge and stun ability.
Perfect for initiating a fight.
Yeah.
Or disrupting enemy plans.
Right.
And then there's Thunderous Roar.
Right.
An area of effect damage over time ability.
That's a mouthful.
It is, but it's particularly effective against opponents who like to kite. And don't forget, demoralizing. Shout. Reducing enemy damage output while also boosting their own.
That's a win-win.
Absolutely.
But what about those iconic defensive cooldowns?
Okay.
Shield Wall, for example.
Oh, Shield Wall.
40% damage reduction. That's like wearing a suit of armor made of pure resilience.
It's incredible, especially when combined with Last Stand.
Oh, right, which increases their maximum health.
Yeah, they become an absolute wall.
So they're basically a walking, talking health pool at that point.
Pretty much.
What else do they have in their arsenal?
Well, they've got Shield Block.
Right.
A frequent use ability that guarantees blocking melee attacks.
Okay.
It mitigates a significant amount of damage, particularly against those physical damage dealers who like to get up close and personal.
Right. We got to keep them at bay.
And then there's Ignore Pain. Their active mitigation tool that absorbs a large chunk of incoming damage.
So they can take a beating.
They can take it.
But what about those pesky casters?
Oh, the casters.
How do they deal with all that magical mayhem?
That's where Spell Reflect comes in.
They'll reflect, yeah.
For a short time, they take less magic damage.
Okay.
And reflect the next spell cast at them.
Back to the cast.
Back to the caster.
Oh, I love it.
Imagine a mage casting polymorph.
Right.
Thinking they're going to lock down the warrior. Only to have it reflected back at them.
Oh, the tables have turned.
It's a beautiful thing.
That's got to be incredibly satisfying to pull off.
Oh, it is.
What other defensive tricks do they have up their sleeve?
Well, they've got Rallying Cry.
Right.
A team-wide temporary health boost.
So it's like a mini tranquility for the whole team.
Yeah, it's crucial for stabilizing the team.
Okay.
During those moments when the enemy is pushing hard and health bars are dropping fast.
But wait, I thought Intervene was just for saving teammates from physical attacks. Can it be used to block spells as well?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
While Intervene doesn't directly block spells, it can be used to interrupt a caster who's in the middle of a cast.
Oh, okay.
If the warrior times it right, they can dash to their teammate, breaking the caster's line of sight and interrupting the spell.
So it's not just about absorbing damage.
It's not.
It's about disrupting the enemy's plans, creating those crucial moments of breathing room for their team.
Exactly.
And we can't forget about War Banner.
Oh, War Banner.
It reduces the duration of crowd control effects on the entire team.
Yeah, incredibly valuable against those compositions that rely heavily on crowd control.
Right, we saw how effective that was against the Rogue Mage Priest comp.
Absolutely.
Shortening those crowd control chains is essential for survival.
It is.
Okay, so the warrior has a ton of tools.
You do.
For mitigating damage, disrupting the enemy, and supporting their team. But let's move on to the Holy Paladin.
Okay.
Their cooldowns are legendary for a reason, right?
They are legendary, and they have an answer for almost every threat.
Okay. Blessing of Sacrifice. Probably the most iconic.
The ultimate act of selflessness.
Yeah.
Taking the hit for a teammate.
And with Ultimate Sacrifice, they transfer 100% of the damage.
The game changer.
Making the teammate effectively immune.
It's perfect for countering those predictable burst moments.
Okay.
Like the mage's combustion or a rogue's shadow blades.
So they're not just healing.
Right.
They're actively stepping into the line of fire to protect their team.
They're putting their life on the line.
What other tricks do they have up their sleeve?
Well, there's Blessing of Protection.
Right.
Grants immunity to physical damage.
Yeah.
Completely shuts down any melee burst attempts.
Okay.
And then there's Divine Shield.
Divine Shield.
The infamous bubble.
Yeah, the bubble.
Providing complete immunity to everything for a short time.
It's like a panic button.
It is for when things get really hairy.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about Aura Mastery with Devotion Aura.
Right.
15% damage reduction for the entire team.
Ah, that's huge.
It can be incredibly powerful. For mitigating those big cooldown bursts from the enemy team.
It sounds like the Paladin is constantly making decisions. Predicting what the enemy's going to do.
Right.
And using the right cooldown at the right time to counter it.
It's all about anticipation and preparation.
And that's where communication comes into play.
Communication is key.
Okay, tell me more about that.
This comp thrives on communication and coordination.
Right.
The warrior calls out when they're using a major defensive cooldown like Shield Wall.
Okay.
The Paladin communicates their cooldowns. The hunter keeps the team updated on trap availability.
Right.
Enemy cooldowns.
So it's like a three-person dance.
It is.
Each player anticipating the other's steps.
Yeah.
So it's not just about individual skill.
Right.
It's about teamwork.
It is.
Energy.
Absolutely.
And knowing how to use their cooldowns effectively as a unit.
That's what makes this comp so fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
It's a masterclass in defensive play, cooldown management, and coordinated teamwork.
All right, so we've covered their individual roles, their incredible cooldowns, and how they use communication to create this symphony of controlled chaos.
It's beautiful.
But how does this all come together against actual opponents?
Right.
How do they adapt their strategy against different team compositions?
That's where things get really interesting in part 3.
All right.
We'll dive deep into their matchup strategies.
Okay.
Exploring how they counter those popular enemy compositions. How they leverage their strengths to exploit weaknesses.
Right.
And how they use positioning and timing to gain the upper hand in the arena.
Okay. I'm ready.
Get ready for some serious strategy talk.
All right, we're back for the final act of our deep dive into this unexpected arena powerhouse. Beast Mastery Hunter, Protection Warrior, and Holy Paladin comp.
Yeah.
We've dissected their roles.
We have.
Explored that arsenal of cooldowns. And marveled at their communication and synergy.
It's a thing of beauty.
But now, it's time to see them in action against real opponents.
Yeah.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
It's it.
Strategies, matchups, and how this comp adapts its game plan to counter specific threats in the arena.
It's all about adaptation.
Okay, let's jump right into it.
Okay.
Now, we've talked about Rogue Mage Priest, Melee Cleave, and Wizard Cleave before. But are there any other compositions where this comp really shines?
Yeah, there are a few.
They have, like, a surprising edge.
One matchup that often catches people off guard is against Hunter Feral Druid.
Really?
The dreaded Jungle Cleave.
That's a tough one.
It is.
Tons of sustained damage, bleeds.
Right.
Crowd control from both the Druid and the Hunter's Pet.
Yeah.
How does this tank comp handle all that pressure?
Well, that's where the Protection Warrior's role as the ultimate bodyguard comes into play.
Okay.
Remember, intervene.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just for saving teammates from big hits. It can also be used to interrupt casts. So the warrior can use it to disrupt the feral druid's setup, preventing them from getting those bleeds rolling.
So they're not just mitigating damage.
Yep.
They're actively preventing the enemy from setting up their offense.
Exactly.
I like it. What else can they do to counter that bleed-heavy assault?
Well, disarm is another crucial tool in this matchup.
Oh, yeah.
Take away the hunter's weapon. Suddenly, their damage output plummets.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And Shockwave can be used to interrupt the druid's cyclone.
Oh, right.
Preventing them from locking down a key target.
Okay, so they're disrupting the enemy's flow. But what about surviving all that damage?
Yeah.
Jungle Cleave is known for its relentless pressure.
It is, but that's where the Holy Paladin's defensive cooldowns really come into play.
Okay.
Blessing of Protection is crucial for mitigating that physical damage from the druid. And Divine Shield can be a lifesaver if things start to get out of control.
Yeah.
And don't forget about the Hunter's contribution.
Oh, right. Mortal Wounds from the Hunter's Pet.
Right.
Reduces the effectiveness of all those bleeds.
Exactly.
Slowing down the enemy's damage output.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
And the hunter can also kite effectively, right?
Oh, yeah.
Using their range and mobility to stay out of harm's way.
They can dance around and make it really hard for the Jungle Cleave to connect.
So it becomes a war of attrition.
It does.
And this comp is built to outlast.
They
force cooldowns, peel relentlessly, and eventually create an opening to eliminate the feral druid.
Right.
Who is often the squishiest target in that composition.
That's right.
So they're not just surviving.
Nope.
They're slowly but surely turning the tide in their favor.
Exactly. Like a slow, controlled burn.
Now I have to ask.
Go ahead.
What about those, like, rare mirror matches?
Oh, yeah.
Where they face another tank comp?
Those are battles for the ages.
I bet.
It becomes a true test of endurance.
Yeah.
Cooldown management. Finding those tiny windows of opportunity to exploit.
So it's a chess match.
It is.
Resilience.
Where every move matters.
I love it.
The strategy in these matchups often revolves around focusing fire on the enemy beast mastery hunter.
Okay.
Take down their pet. You significantly reduce their damage output.
Right.
It's a long, drawn-out fight.
Yeah.
But this comp has the tools to win those wars of attrition.
This is all incredible.
It is.
But I have to wonder, with so much going on, so many cooldowns to manage, so many decisions to make, how do they keep from stepping on each other's toes?
That's the beauty of this comp.
Okay.
Communication is key.
Right.
Every move is coordinated. The warrior calls out their major defensive cooldowns. The paladin communicates their blessings and other key abilities.
Right.
The hunter keeps the team updated on trap availability.
Yeah.
Enemy cooldowns.
So it's like a perfectly synchronized dance?
It is.
Where each player knows their role and trusts their partners implicitly.
Absolutely.
It really is testament to the power of teamwork, strategy, and adaptability.
It really is.
This comp shows us that even in the fast-paced, often chaotic world of Arena,
it can be chaotic.
Sometimes the most unconventional approaches can lead to extraordinary results.
It can.
It challenges the traditional notions of arena dominance.
It does.
Proving that resilience and control can be just as powerful, if not more so, than raw damage.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that sometimes the best offense is a great defense.
I like that.
So for all you listeners out there, if you're looking for a comp that defies expectations, a comp that rewards teamwork, strategic thinking, and a bit of a never-say-die attitude.
Gotta have that.
Well, this just might be the deep dive for you.
It might be.
And who knows? Maybe we'll see more tanks shaking things up in the arena in the future.
It's possible.
This comp proves that anything is possible. It does.
If you have the right strategy, the right team, and the willingness to challenge the status quo.
Gotta be willing to think outside the box.
And on that note,
all right,
we'll leave you with a final thought.
Okay.
This deep dive focused on the world of 3v3 Arena. But could these principles of durability, control, and sustained pressure be applied elsewhere in the game?
That's the question.
Could this comp, or a variation of it, find success in battlegrounds? Or even in the open world of world PvP?
It would be interesting to see.
Well, it's a great question to ponder.
It is.
Perhaps a world awaits where tanks aren't just raid bosses, but the unexpected heroes of player versus player combat.
Who knows?
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Keep exploring.
Keep exploring. And never be afraid to challenge those conventional norms.
You never know what you might find.
You never know what amazing discoveries you might make. Exactly.